Guess who's back? Back again. Pear and Olive's back. Tell a friend. Even though it's not, you can't get it anymore. It's sold out.
Yeah. So Pear and Olive by Slumberhouse.
Yeah.
We ordered it without ever smelling it. It's a blind buy. And
it came in this fancy little pouch.
And it came in this fancy pouch, and we learned you couldn't buy it anymore because right after we bought it, we got an email saying, I guess from Josh over at Slumberhouse, saying that the shipment might be a little later than he was expecting because he was expecting the shipment of Pear and Olive to last him throughout the summer, but it sold out in a day. So,
ta-da!
Here we are with our bottle of
Pear and Olive.
Pear and Olive. It came in this fancy pouch, and by fancy pouch I mean it looks like a $1, like maybe 50-cent velvet pouch.
But it's the thought that counts.
But it's the thought that counts. It came like with just styrofoam peanuts in a box with this bad boy.
Bum bum ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum ba-dum. I got it for you.
Whoa.
Whoa!
So here's the bottle for Pear and Olive. It's got a green color.
It's like think of olive oil with some pear juice, and that's what color it looks like.
Yeah, there you go. There's some light on it. You can see this reissue of Pear and Olive comes with some of the kind of the classic marbles from the older Slumberhouse bottles. This one's got some big balls in it. It's got some big marbles in it. It's some small marbles in it. And this time, instead of having the Pear and Olive frosted brand across the front, you've just got this little sticker on the bottom that reads Pear and Olive. It doesn't tell you if this is the EDP or the Extrait de Parfum, but Slumberhouse's Pear and Olive in their new bottle, which, I mean, in case you haven't gotten a good look at it, there she blows with the cap over here.
So
it's all snug on.
We own what's our other?
Sova.
Yeah, Sova King. So we own one other Slumberhouse, and the bottle's pretty much the same. You know, the only main difference, as you pointed out, is the name isn't frosted on the top, and this one has the glass marbles in them. Otherwise, I really enjoy the aesthetic of the bottle. I think it goes hand in hand with the fragrance and with the fragrance in the house. It really tells a story. I think if it looked any, I mean, even the old bottles I think still told the story. But I think these are sleeker looking than the old bottles. I really like these. I like this a lot.
The new bottle, I mean, I like Slumberhouse starting from the marbled bottles on forward. I think they're fine. Before that, I think the bottles were not greatest. So good job, Josh, on upgrading.
The one concern that you've mentioned for sure is about the marbles, though, is what do you do when you get fragrance trapped in the little, you know, when you have very little left, maybe a few mils? How do you work with the marbles to get the perfume out? So I guess if anybody actually owns any Slumberhouse with marbles and have gotten that low, we would be interested to see what you've kind of done to address that concern. Maybe it's not a concern. We just haven't had anything with marbles, and we don't know what it's going to turn out to be. Yeah,
and this, with the new bottles here, they're still sold as 30 ml bottles, which clearly, obviously, isn't the case. I think if he's going to switch to this design to keeping some marbles in the bottles, there should be something done to address that. Maybe like a slight price drop or something of that nature. Because it is. I mean, it's a couple mils missing. You know, having the new marbles in there. So I mean, the typical Slumberhouse, the bottles that they have now.
We haven't seen the marbles in,
and I love them. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
He even goes so far as to use the invisible stems for the sprayer there, it's really, really hard to see. We'll see if you can. Yeah, I'm sure you can see it in there slightly, but it's that's pretty nice. That's a pretty nice added feature, and I just love the bottles. I love everything about them. Now, as for Pear and Olive, it's been kind of one of their...
So it originally came out in 2012, and then it was discontinued, and then, as we mentioned, summer of 2018, he brought it back for a day.
Yeah, and it's been brought back, I think, 2 other times since its initial creation. It is kind of one of like the semi-staples of the house. It's one that everybody kind of knows from Slumberhouse. The big 3, I think, that are the most famous from Slumberhouse. You've got Norn, you've got Olive and Pear, and you've got Zod. I think those are the 3 biggest famous or infamous fragrances from the house.
Yeah.
And Pear and Olive is one of those neat ones that really kind of deviates from the classic, like, heavy woody, heavy resinous, tarry.
Yeah, but even when you were smelling it, or like wearing it for the first time, it's very obvious it's still Slumberhouse. Slumberhouse, from the few that we've smelled, have a very unique signature base or note composition, and with smelling it, it's very obvious. Like it's not as heavy and it's not as dark as some of the other ones, but it still has the basic foundation of notes that make it a Slumberhouse.
Yeah, I mean, from about the 10 that we've smelled, there's 3 that really stand out as kind of not being as like oppressively heavy as a lot of the other fragrances do. That being Zod, Pear and Olive, and New Civet. Pear and Olive of the 3, though, I think is actually is without a doubt my favorite of the 3, and I think the most interesting of the 3 too, in that it takes something that's sweet, something that's kind of fresh, something that's typically more reserved for kind of designer fragrances. It has a really unique twist on it, which is actually not just the olive, although the olive helps to subdue the pear a little bit, but it also shows you how these genres that are kind of more often than not looked down upon in the niche community as being kind of like cheap shots and kind of like childish or easy and unsophisticated, and instead it keeps it within the realm of artisanal perfumery, and it does smell very intensely and purposely crafted, and it does smell rich and beautiful.
Well, one of the first words I used was gourmand. It definitely is a gourmand, I would say. So we have Gersov's Lyra, and in a lot of ways I was comparing kind of the 2 between what I thought they were smelling like. This one I think is probably a little bit lighter than Lyra. Lyra is very caramely, but it kind of gives a similar type of smell as Lyra does, but just probably more spring summery than Lyra, what I would probably say more fall wintry in regards to the smell of it. This was an instant like, if not love, for me when I first smelled this. When we were looking up some of the notes, they all say buttery, and I think that's a great way to describe the way that this smells. It just kind of melts butter. I don't know. I guess that's, I mean, yes, it's got pear, it's got olive, it's got some woody notes, it's got cognac, some weird plants and geranium stuff I can't even pronounce. But I think buttery is like, that's the best word I think to use. Is a sweet butter.
Yeah, like an herbal fruity butter.
Yeah.
So I mean, like Josh is now well known for only working with base notes, and I think it's really interesting to see him do something so light with base notes. I think this does come across buttery, kind of oily, and I think it's this nice play between a lot of the kind of sweeter, more bakery friendly notes that are being played on here, occasionally touching on more of the sweet gourmand side, and then you've got like the olive oil and the chamomile, which are all kind of pulling it into this kind of like denser herbally oil that you'd maybe feel at home in like a hippie like shop,
which fits into Oregon.
There you go. Yeah, Portland. Yeah.
I have already admitted that I'm probably gonna wear the fuck out of this thing. I don't think it's femme. I also don't think it's masculine. Online it's listed as unisex, and I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I just really like it. I think for me it's going to be an easy blind grab because I'm not going to have to think about what this works with. It just is going to work.
Yeah.
Especially during the warmer months.
The warmer months.
Yeah.
And I think it's online. It's like when you look on a lot of places, it's listed as like a sweet and fruity fragrance.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in a lot of comments say too sweet. For me, too fruity. That might have been the case with another version of this perfume, but I really don't find it to be true here.
No.
And that was something I was worried about in buying it, because usually fruity and sweet are things that repulse me.
Yeah.
Sweet especially is something I can't really deal with. Usually gourmands is like an instant turnoff for me. Gourmand is not something I'm usually interested in. But here it really does work, because the pear, when you spray it on, is almost like instantly mouth-watering. There is something about pear that's both like refreshing and sweet and kind of a little bit tangy. And I
mean, even if you think about it, pear isn't the sweetest of fruits.
Right.
You know, like it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the olive oil does this thing where it kind of accentuates a little bit of the juiciness of it, but it also tones it down.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of those Bates notes that are going on there that really do bring that heavy Slumberhouse feel to it, but without feeling like oppressive.
Oh, yeah.
So it weights it down in this really nice way that you get the sweetie notes, you get the fresh notes, you get the fruity notes, but it never becomes like... In my mind, I never wear this, or could see myself wearing this and say like, "Oh wow, I'm wearing like something fruity or sweet." It doesn't become that; it becomes something much more. I could see this being like conceptually something even that like Xerjoff could do, where they take something like a Neo or like a Kobe, and turn it into something that's more refined, that sound maybe a little bit like cheaper on paper, maybe a little bit more designery, and do something more gourmand with it, and something more artisanal.
Yeah, for me at least, like for the few days we've got it, you know, we haven't had it that long, not even a week yet. I think this is probably going to stay on like one of my favorites. Not my favorites, I think, that you wear, but I think one of my favorites
for you.
For me, I think. I mean, if you wear it, am I going to enjoy it? Hell yes. But I like, there are other ones I like you in better than this, but I really like it. I'm glad we have it. It's unique. And
she's incredibly picky about what she will wear.
That is true.
And you know, this is one of those fragrances that's great for both people. You know, in the relationship, it works out really well.
Yep. So if this is something that you are looking for, I do wish you good luck, because I have a weird feeling that people probably bought it and plan on selling it for expensive on eBay or wherever, because it's now discontinued. Hopefully you can find a good soul who will decant or doesn't like it and will be willing to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for it, I would jump on it now. There are, as far as I've seen, there are a few on eBay that are like $30 increased. You know, now $190 or something. If you really want it, that's not an exorbitant price yet. I imagine it will get to that point where it is a little bit ridiculous. For myself, one of the hardest things in the world to find is just that artisanal perfumery that reaches a level of refinement that maintains a fresh, crisp feeling, something great to wear during summer, that smells great, lasts a long time, and also simultaneously doesn't give you that chemically
you're right,
garbagey burn that a majority of like designer fragrances come with. You can stick with a lot of the classics. You can go with like Guerlain's Vetiver. You can hit up Neo by Xerjoff, you know. But this does something I think that is unprecedented to me in a lot of the perfumery that I've tried. Even like I said, some of kind of the other more summer-friendly versions of Slumberhouse didn't quite reach a point that tickled me to the point that this did. And so I think this is something really worth having. I think it really is a very special fragrance, and I'm pretty jazzed we have it in our collection. Yes. So now the big and impossible question is, who in the hell would wear this?
I have an idea.
Do you? Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of Slumberhouse is kind of built on a lot of mythology. And, like, in my mind, it's usually, like, forest mythology, like, deep, dense forest mythology. So, you know, I'm picturing, like, you know, the trees from Lord of the Rings, you know, kind of like weird little mythical creatures, gods, you know, for example, all types of things that I think a lot of Slumberhouse has been previously. So, in my mind, this one is more like a wood nymph. Not any wood nymph in particular, but just like a wood nymph. Because, I mean, they're light in the fact that they're a nymph, but at the same time, it's got, you know, some of the more herbally, tree notes and smells that are going along in it, and I think that's probably like the best type of creature I think would fit this. That was my gut instinct, is that it'd be a wood nymph.
What about Totoro?
That would be super good too.
Guardian of the Spirit. He's a giant cutie too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Totoro.
I'm probably going to just resort to what I do a lot, which is Lord of the Rings, and say Pippin would probably be a great pick for this.
You think so?
Because of the fact
it smells like butter.
It smells like cooking. It smells like fruits, which he's always on. It smells kind of light and fresh. It smells kind of a little bit goofy, a little bit silly, but it also smells very like.
You know, they're in the forest. They're in the woods. They're little hobbits.
Yeah, and at the end he's, you know, essentially royalty.
Yeah.
Written in Tolkien's prose. I mean, you could hardly ask for anything more artisanal. So, I mean, that would probably be my pick. You get the woody notes. They're in the woods. You get the herbal notes. They love to cook. They're, you know, always
potatoes
running around. Yeah, they're stealing people's fruits and veggies. You know, there you go. This pear right on the top.
There you go.
And that's it.
Okay, that's a wrap.